Let's see here. Hey, everybody. Toby here. We're doing this live stream thing again. I'm hoping I can see your comments. It's always a little bit of a wild card here to see them in real time. I think it'll work this time. We'll see. Hope you all had a great Easter, by the way. Had a nice time myself with my family. We're going to wait a minute more because I don't want to start a minute early. I want to start right on time. And it's 11:59. Want to thank everybody for being here. It's a real pleasure to be able to do these, and something I look forward to, and hope you do too. This week's session, we do them about every other week, so I hope you'll just keep an eye out. You can check out my profile. I don't think we do email blasts, but we do a lot of postings. If you check out my LinkedIn posts, you'll see my promotions for these things. We do a lot of WordPress types of conversations. We do a lot of like marketing conversations. We do sales types of conversations. And we try to do them every other week. My goal is just to educate and share what I've learned over the years. I've been running the Mighty Mo for 19 years. We're a WordPress design, deeply experienced WordPress development shop. We do WooCommerce and some Shopify work. We also do SEO as a primary offering. So we do basically WordPress and SEO. That's what we do and what we've done for 19 years. So, but today we're talking about WordPress Core Web Vitals. Now, you probably have only heard about Core Web Vitals in the context of Google Page Speed Insights, and that's kind of how this term came to prominence. But the idea is it impacts your page speed score at the end of the day. Why page speed? Maybe you don't know. You probably know what page speed is. By the way, this is geared towards marketers, but this could apply to anybody with a website. So everything I'm talking about, I'm trying to like not use jargon. Hopefully there's stuff in here that you can take and run with and improve on your website today. So Google Page Speed Insights, if you don't know, is just a metric that Google uses to score website speed. And they have said publicly that they include this metric as part of their algorithm. Google's a black box. They don't tell us how they use it, but it's pretty rare that they actually tell us something they're doing in a like a metric way. And so it's really interesting for that, because like here's an actual metric that we can impact that in theory impacts our Google results. So let's dive in here. What is Core Web Vitals? Why does it matter? At the end of the day, it's page speed. Does your site load? Can you click on stuff? It's stuff like that. Does it load and move around? Sometimes that happens. Are you able to, when it loads, can you click on stuff right away, or do you have to wait for stuff to load before you can click on it? Can you see stuff immediately, or do you have to wait for other things to load? Maybe the stuff on the bottom of the page that need to load before the stuff on the top. And so that's kind of what this is. There are three things. We're not going to get super deep into like the tech here, but there's largest contentful paint, cumulative layout shift. Those are the two big ones. The good news is cumulative layout shift is pretty straightforward to fix with WordPress plugins. Largest contentful paint is not at all easy to fix, but we're going to give you some tips. The same with first contentful paint, time to first byte. Some of these are easier than others, but largest contentful paint is usually the metric that people struggle with most is this. And we'll get into why. A lot of it has to do with technology decisions that you didn't even make, that your developer made 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 1 year ago. You didn't even know there was a decision being made, but a decision was made on your behalf, and you had no idea until maybe you'll never find out, but maybe today you'll go to Google PageSpeed and find out. Let me just share my screen here really quick. Whoops. How do I do... I think I can remove that. Let's present, share screen. We're going to share entire screen. How about that? Here we go. All right. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. This is Google Page Speed Insights. This is a free site. You can go, you type your URL up here. And I did this I was just curious today as I was like thinking of example sites. I was like, here's a big popular site called Target.com. Probably has 1 million sales a day, and it's a huge site. And you'd think that the score on this site would be fantastic. Nope. The score is 41, and this is out of 100. And so part of this is me saying, this isn't like the only thing you should invest in or follow or like, track, because there are sites doing great business that don't score great on this score. I did a couple others that just popped into my head. Walmart.com, 41. Again, relatively low. I did Amazon.com, 75, much higher, but not great. 75 is yellow. You want it to be green. Here's Fox News, 28. And then we get over to my site, tobycrines.com, 76. I beat all those sites. I beat Amazon, I beat Target, and then the Mighty Mo beats that. And so you can kind of see, and we've had this up at 99 before. This fluctuates a little bit, but it fluctuates, and it depends what you're doing on your site. And so there's a lot of factors that kind of play in here. But usually, if you ran this thing 10 times, you'll find an average in like a 10-point band generally. So 5 plus or minus 5, generally speaking, if you run it a bunch of times in a row. So 79, it could be 89, it could be 75 if I ran it again. But so this is a metric. It kind of moves, but it doesn't move a ton. I'd plus or minus 5 to 10. We'll say 5 once you land on like an average. It's usually 5 one way or the other. So again, that's just benchmark stuff here. I just wanted to share that as like, hey, here, just so you know, you could have a really bad page speed metric score like Fox News does, and I'm guessing they're doing fine. Like they just settled a $300 million or $1 billion lawsuit. Like they're fine, and they have a 28. Walmart had a 41. They're fine. So again, this isn't like end all do all, but I will say this: if you're a small B2B company in particular, but also B2C, like if you're selling a product, like with WooCommerce or something like that, this page speed actually matters more than it does on a site like Amazon or Walmart, because when you go to Amazon or Walmart or Target.com, you're going to buy from there. You probably have an account there. Your credit card's already entered there. You're going to wait for the thing to do its thing. And I noticed this on the Amazon app. Like sometimes it'll take forever, but I'm like, I'll just wait. But if I go to like some service provider, let's say it's a lawn care company. I'm in the market to hire a lawn care company, and one site's taken forever to load, I'll just close it and go to the next lawn care company, because I don't know. I don't care. I'm not invested. I'm just trying to find one quickly with as little headache as possible. And so that's where these scores actually are worth targeting. If you're running a site that relies on, or a business that relies on relatively few sales per year, let's say your business needs 100 or 1,000 sales a year to pay all the bills. And if you're that type of business, or if you're an unknown consumer company, consumer products, let's say you're selling your soap or your candles, or we have a client that sells, they're a B2C like cancer product company that helps soothe cancer ailments. And so page speed is really important to them, because people are searching for what they sell, and there might be 5 options. They're going to pull them up and be like, oh, this site's slow. It sucks. I'm just going to go to the next one. So again, it matters. And I think it actually matters more if you're a small business than if you're a giant corporation. As we see here, like we saw the one, Fox News is in the 20s. That's horrible, but people will wait. They have dedicated followings, I hear. And so you should care if you're a marketing leader at your company, or if you're responsible for any part of the lead generation process, you should likely care about this score for that reason. Some common mistakes when it comes to this. Let me share this screen again, because so this is Target.com. There are lots of metrics here you can target: speed index, total blocking time, first contentful paint, largest contentful paint. And it'll give you lots of tips to do, things you can address, or a developer could address at least. And let's go down here. So you could do any number of these things. One thing I like to look at, first of all, is the savings part, or the time. So let's just look at this cost savings. So you can get from 179 kilobyte to 30 kilobyte. It's a savings, but that's not like a huge file. 179K, it's you could have 5 of those equal a megabyte. This is an improvement, but I wouldn't probably, unless there are a lot of those, I wouldn't start there. And maybe in this case, there are a lot of those. And this is where, once you figure out where to go, then you can find the right plugin, the right WordPress plugin to help fix the work. When I'm looking here, I really like looking at the millisecond stuff in here. So this is almost 5 seconds for script evaluation. And so this is something I might go, if I'm responsible for making sure the site's fast, I might go, how can we cut that to 2 seconds? That might really help. Might help someone, be the difference between someone staying and someone going. Similarly here, I'm just looking at JavaScript execution time. And you as a marketing person don't really need to know what this is, but you can look at these times. Let me just zoom in a little here. So total CPU time, for a little over 4 seconds for this target img1.com. And so you could then send this to your developer and say, hey, I'm noticing 4 seconds here. What is this? Do we need this? Can we optimize it? We have Google Ads, double click, adding a second load time potentially. And by the way, these aren't always cumulative. Sometimes they come in at asynchronously, like kind of at the same time. So you kind of have to keep that in mind too. But anytime I see like a 4 second thing, I'm like, that's interesting. 1 second, not as interesting. And as you go down, it's less and less interesting. Like you can see, they're running Adobe Tag Manager on target.com. Let's look at tobycrines.com here real quick to see if we're doing, again, we're scoring really good, 76. That's pretty good. I mean, I think if I invested an hour or two in this, we could get it up to 90. And I've done that many times. It just, over time, you gotta keep optimizing these things. But I'm looking here. Okay, so here's one, 6 seconds. And you can see here, nothing is 6 seconds up here. So that's gotta be, it's not fully, oh, that's the whole .com. That's why, that's like a bunch of stuff. So it doesn't, these metrics aren't always directly correlated to these numbers. So, but they give you a sense for what's going on. So you could like look at this and go, hey, developer, hey, team, 6 seconds. Does this matter? Should we fix anything? Should we optimize anything? Here's Google Fonts taking almost a second to load. And so at this point, as a marketing person, I wouldn't be like looking for hyper specifics, but here it's saying like, give me red items. And so this is stuff you can kind of bring up at your next conversation with your dev team or your technology team and say, hey, there's some things Google's flagging here. Maybe we should look at these. That's totally fair to bring to a development team or your agency of choice or whatever. So one core learning from that, you want to address things that are important. Not all these things are equal. Some of them are required and they just take time, like that Google Fonts thing. It's just going to take almost a second to load. That's just how it is. And you're not going to remove the Google font most likely. So you want to make sure, and you want to collaborate with ideally somebody who understands this stuff to like prioritize these items. There are lots of easy wins that don't affect this number at all. And so you kind of want to be careful about that too, getting sucked into a trap, especially when it comes to WordPress plugins. Like sometimes you'll install a image optimization plugin, it'll do all the stuff, and it actually might slow down your score, make your site worse. And so you got to be a little bit careful with that stuff. By the way, after this session, I'm gonna post a newsletter that's going to have some resources for, what are the slow WordPress plugins? What are the fast WordPress plugins? What's a resource to learn more about Core Web Vitals and Google PageSpeed? I'm going to share those resources with you. But not all performance improvements are equal. In fact, some barely move the metrics at all. So what does improve this Google PageSpeed score? And this is where, my company, the Mighty Mo, really shines in this regard, because we have been at this 19 years now, and this has been a focus from the beginning because it's been yeah, I've been hyper interested and curious about this too. So all of our hosting clients share a really fast uh, uh, setup. They're not all sitting on the same server or anything. We use the Google Cloud primarily, but we use other cloud providers too, depending on the situation. Um, uh, but we've learned lessons through experience, and we now know what to look for. We had a client the other day. They were hosting elsewhere at a big provider that you've heard of, and they came to me and said, "Hey, our site's down," and they were blaming us for it. They were saying our site goes down every night at midnight for 30 minutes. What are you doing? And we're like, nothing. And then it turned out that for whatever reason, their web host wasn't working. It was going down at that same time every night. And there's some tech reasons likely that was happening. But, and we told them, we go, well, none of our clients are having this problem. So if you want to, if we host you, you're likely not going to have this problem. So we brought them over, and sure enough, the problem went away. So so the first thing you should do is start with your tech stack as you're thinking about improving these page speed scores. I always think at the DNS level. That's the first thing when you think of, like, you visit a website, the first thing that you hit is the DNS level. And so this is another thing where we've learned and we're deeply interested and curious, and we do a lot of research. And so we always start with a very fast DNS provider, and we have a cloud DNS provider that all our clients are welcome to use. And we actually will do that for free as part of our hosting service. And that's like a really nice add-on. So that'll immediately, a lot of times, fix some of the page speed scores. But then you talk about the host. So they go to the DNS, then they land on the hosting level. And now the host includes something called PHP, which is code you've probably heard talked about. It doesn't even matter what it is. Just know that there are different versions of PHP. And generally speaking, the higher the version, the faster it is. And PHP is free. It's open source. And so I always say, like, if you do nothing else, just make sure you're on the current version of PHP. In fact, it has other benefits too. We just helped someone upgrade, not on our server, but they had their own server and they wanted to upgrade PHP. They were on an older unsupported version. So we helped them upgrade their PHP, and that immediately improved some of the scores on page speed. And they weren't even going for a page speed score. They were just having other issues related to the old version of PHP. And so in addition to fixing the old issues, we noticed that it fixed some speed issues for them too. So keep that in mind. You got your fast DNS, fast host, make sure PHP is upgraded on the host. And I'll share a link of where you can see the most current version of PHP. Now you get to WordPress. There's only one version of WordPress, so you're all good on WordPress. But then the next thing that can make or break your page speed score is your WordPress theme. There are themes that are very slow. There are themes that are very fast. I have a whole analysis that I did a while back that I can share the link to here as well. I'll share it in the newsletter as well. But they're not, there are fast themes and slow themes. That's the gist of it. And so, but this is where, you know, these decisions are being made that you're not even aware of. You know, let's say you bought your domain at GoDaddy or something like that. GoDaddy provides DNS for free as part of your domain purchase. And you probably will stay with that DNS, even though it might not be the best, might not be the fastest. And you're just going to stay there just because, like, you didn't even know it was a thing. So I'm telling you, look at your DNS, fast web host, current version of PHP, fast theme. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. So you hire a company to build your website and they build it, they design it, you approve the designs, it looks great, they build it, and then it's launched, and then you do a Google page speed and it's slow. And they say, what's the problem? You say, what's the problem? Well, the theme is slow. And that's the most common thing and the most impactful thing. Like when I think of like problems that you could get ahead of, that's the most impactful thing. And like I said, I'll share this link that I did a while back that has I try to do apples to apples speed comparisons between popular WordPress themes. And some of the most popular WordPress themes are some of the slowest, just so you know. In fact, the slowest is the most popular. So keep that in mind. So after you choose a fast theme, then you want fast plugins. For example, there's 100 form plugins. You want a contact form on your site. There's 100 of them. Some are fast, some are slow, some are supported, some are not. So that's an example of a plugin choice that you'll make, or that your developer will probably make for you, that hopefully it's a good one. And sometimes we'll take on speed optimization clients, and we'll talk to them about switching form plugins and switching other plugins. Like some SEO plugins are actually pretty bulky. And so we'll be like, hey, if we switch to this other plugin, it'll actually be faster. And so those are considerations that we take into account as experienced professionals in the field. But frankly, a lot of experienced professionals don't take that into account. So, but I'm letting you know. And so these are things you can do post, like plugins can be swapped a lot easier than themes. I don't want to say easy, a lot more straightforward. Like themes are basically, that's a big project to re-platform the theme. But if you want to re-platform the plugins, that's a much more straightforward project most of the time. So you have, let's say you choose a bunch of fast plugins. Now you get into speed optimization plugins. So there's like the core WordPress plugins. You got your form, you got your SEO, you got other things. Usually you'll have, let's say 10 core plugins. You do backups, whatever you do. And then you get in, and then you all usually have a hosting cache related plugin or two. Got a security plugin. And now you get into speed optimization plugins, which should come after you've made all those decisions. And now you're talking about optimizing. You're talking about, let's say, making the images the right sizes for the right places. Sometimes you're optimizing the images themselves, stripping out metadata that you don't need. You're optimizing the load order of the files. Which files are loaded? Are you gonna load the script that changes a colon parenthesis to a smiley face? The emoji plugin, like that's built into WordPress by default, and you can disable that script, and that saves you a little bit. And in theory, every little bit helps, especially if you're not using a lot of emojis. So there's lots of those little choices you can make, and there are plugins that have toggle switches for a lot of that stuff. And interestingly enough, we found so far, and we've done a lot of these, probably hundreds, where there's no perfect recipe. There's no silver bullet. Every site is different. This is a fact that we've discovered through experience. And so I can't say like, oh, just use this plugin, it'll be fixed. There's a lot of variables that go into this, unfortunately. Unfortunately for you, maybe fortunate for us because we know how to fix it. But so you have your DNS level fast. You have your website host fast. You have your upgraded version of PHP that's fast. You've chosen a fast WordPress theme. You've chosen fast plugins. You've optimized everything with a WordPress speed optimization plugin. And now you're really ready to go deeper. And to go deeper than that, let's get back to largest contentful paint here. And I'm going to scroll up to this largest contentful paint, 5.2 seconds. What largest contentful paint, effectively, it's this little screen grab here that you see. Let's turn your clicks into qualified leads. This is what they're talking about. Now let's see what it is on target.com. So on target.com, this is what they're defining as largest contentful paint, something like this. It's might not be this entire thing. It's probably everything, who knows exactly, but that's the gist. And let's look at these other ones here. So this is what we're talking about. So the gist of it is, how can you optimize this specific section? You can see Amazon's, first of all, it looks messed up. Let's start there, at least in this screen grab. So that'd be something to look into. Maybe there's something weird going on there. This largest contentful paint, 17 seconds. That could be a number of issues. It likely is a number of issues, but 5 seconds for Toby Crines, and then 4 seconds for the Mighty Mo. And you can see it gives you kind of a time lapse of how things load. And you can actually sort these things by what you want to see, like largest contentful paint stuff. you can see tobycrimes.com loaded slightly longer, took 4 rectangles to load versus 1 for the Mighty Mo. If we go over here to Fox News, takes 2. So like started loading it. Looks like for them, I'm just looking at a glance here. I mean, we have to go a lot deeper, but like, see how there's this like view in app thing? It looks like Google PageSpeed is counting that as largest contentful paint. And I'm guessing that that is increasing the score or decreasing their score quite a bit and increasing their load times as far as this metric goes. That kind of brings up another point. Like the user who's like on the site might not care. In fact, this is an annoyance. So like they're on the site, they're clicking, scrolling. This score from a user perspective might not matter all that much, but Google cares about it. And so, you know, a lot of these giant corporations, they're going to get ranked in Google no matter what, so they don't care. But like I said, small mom and pops who, you know, really need people to like lean in and read their stuff and trust them and build that trust, these scores matter more. Although this specific score won't, but the speed of your site will matter more for you small B2B businesses, for example. So along that, things you can do. If you're loading video in your hero, like at the very top of the page of your homepage, for example, lots of people do that. It's likely slowing it down. And so, and I know this from experience, there are times where we have a conversation with a customer and we're like, we can speed up your site, but we can do a lot better in this score if we just get rid of the video at the very top. Let's move it down just a few inches, you know, that sort of thing. Let's replace it with a very beautiful picture that's very fast to load. And so that's usually a good place to think about it and start is if you have a big video up there or even a big hero image like the mightymo.com and tobycrimes.com. We don't have a big image, by the way, nor does amazon.com. And so just keep that in mind. We talked about better hosting. You need better hosting. There's a metric in here for like server response time. And when you get into that, that's generally hosting, it's DNS, that sort of stuff. Are you using a CDN? Most reputable DNS providers these days do provide a CDN. However, if you're using GoDaddy's, there's no CDN. If you're using your hosting companies, you know, if your giant hosting company, GoDaddy, HostGator, if you're using any of those, their DNS doesn't come with a CDN. Generally, it's an upsell and probably, well, I'll let you be the choice if it's worth paying for. There's a metric in here, removing render blocking resources. Again, this is getting very in the weeds here. And I actually don't think you should spend too much time here as a marketing person. Now you could throw this over the fence to your development team and say, hey, fix this render blocking issue, or let us know if you can't and why you can't. And so, you know, looking at this is my site. I might look at that and go, we can save 1.4 seconds by fixing some of these. I'm curious. And then you can kind of see like this first one is something related to the theme. So maybe we can't get rid of that one, but this carousel, I can't imagine we're using that at the top of our page. We can probably delay that. When I say get rid of, we're just talking about delaying, not deleting. Font Awesome CDN. This is interesting because we do use a lot of Font Awesome stuff, but something to consider. Maybe if we were to revamp the site, maybe we get rid of Font Awesome. These are like those little icons that you see everywhere. And by the way, you can see up here, this little green icon, this is a Font Awesome thing, I think. But that, just loading that there might be causing this first contentful paint score or largest contentful paint to go up. And so that would be something we would explore. Like we might say, hey, is there any way we can push this down a little bit and put some more text or an image or something else there that doesn't require Font Awesome script? And then we can save 1.9, you know, almost 2 seconds, and hopefully make this savings go down too. So this is not, I should say, this is closer to rocket science than it is the playground, you know, it's something basic. It's complex. It's interesting. I encourage you to go there if you're interested. Give it a go. Like install these WordPress plugins that can help with a lot of this. Give it a go. What we find is without the experience, if you're someone without the experience, a lot of the times you'll learn like the work that you're doing that you think is speeding up your site is actually slowing it down. And so, but I encourage you to try it. It's free in most cases. It's cheap. If you have a site that, especially if you have a staging site, which all of our hosting customers do, I would say, oh, you're interested? Go for it. I'll set you up with all the tools. You can click all the buttons and see how it goes. And by the way, you might have success. You might get lucky. And then once you get beyond that, though, there's like a lot of things, network dependency tree. This is stuff that's a lot harder to sort out from a tech perspective. It just requires more experience, a deeper code knowledge. It's just a lot harder. It's just like you're going to need senior people. And so I would say, like, you're not trying to get every win. You're just looking for the wins that are within your budget, within your time frame, and that you have people to help with. So again, this is not page speed and stuff like that. It's not the end all be all, but especially if you go to your site and you find it's loading slowly, probably worth addressing. It could be the difference between getting this person to pay you and not paying you, so I think it's worth addressing at a holistic standpoint. At minimum, let's say it's taking 5 to 10 seconds to load. Hey, can we just get this to 3 seconds? Tell me what I need. If someone's talking to me, like, I might be like, I think I can get it to 3 seconds without doing crazy stuff. Like, we can take very straightforward steps that are within your budget and get you there. And so that's kind of how I look at it. I'm not generally going for like high 90s in page speed unless someone specifically asked for it. Generally, I'm just saying, like, is it fast enough for your customers? And or are you investing a lot in an SEO budget? If so, you might want to kick these scores up a bit just because we know Google cares about them. So again, ROI is really the name of the game there. Just looking through my notes here. So I had this idea, like, there's a typical WordPress site. And by the way, it's probably not these two that I'm showing you, Toby Crines, but let's say this person, it's Walmart.com, Mr. Wall, Mr. Walton came to me. He's like, hey, I'm a small business in Arkansas and I have 12 seconds here and I'm trying to get higher in Google. What should I do? And so let's say it's a 40 and I go, okay, 40 is pretty low. I think we can actually do a lot with that, probably maybe double it. But even if we didn't double it, we could probably kick it up to 60 or 70 without killing your budget. And so I think what most people would do is install a WordPress plugin or two, like probably install a couple caching plugins, install optimization plugin or two, and then be very disappointed. And again, I encourage you to do that. Like, if that's what you have the budget to do and you want, or you're just curious, go for it. You can always deactivate and disable those plugins. But again, I look at it from a user experience standpoint. And I would personally go to the site and say, where are people getting hung up here? And my last session that I did on here on LinkedIn involved Microsoft Clarity, which is a tool you can use to get some sense of where people are dropping off and where they're going. And so that's kind of, I actually, when it comes to page speed stuff, I like to get into the why, what's the point of all this effort? Where do we hope to be? How will that help your business and bottom line? And so it's not always tech. Sometimes it's like a simple solution too. Like, so we might be like we talked about that. Maybe let's just move this video down the page and it'll help a lot. This pop-up, we have a client that has a pop-up, and we discovered, I had a session with them last week, and the issue, what we discovered, we're trying to figure out why people aren't buying their product, which is a great product, and they have a lot of competitors, and they're getting tons of traffic, but nobody's buying it. and they're going to competitors. He knows the competitors they're going to because he talks to them and their suppliers. And, it's like they're literally integrated businesses, but they're totally separate businesses. And one thing we discovered is just from looking at screen recordings of users on the site is that like they had a pop-up that was just interrupting everything. And they're like, I go, how many signups did you get on this pop-up in the last year? He said 0. And I'm like, mind if we delete it? So who knows if that'll be the answer, but maybe it's part of the answer. And I think it's for sure part of the solution, in the sense that like the process of trying to figure out where people are getting hung up can be part of your solution. And so, and that could go a number of ways, but like the idea is like, put yourself in the shoes of the visitor. Is it taking a long time to load? If it is, fix that and let's address that. But there's multiple ways to address that. Similarly, let's say they're getting there and they're staying on the site. You can go to Google Analytics and check out your bounce rate. And if they're staying for a while and reading a lot, why aren't they buying? Maybe you need to have a call to action, and maybe the speed isn't killing you. Maybe it's this other thing. So we always, at the Mighty Mo, we always approach it more holistically. Like someone comes with us with a speed project, we always try to get to the essence of the issue. And sometimes it is speed. Sometimes it's a tech team that's like, look, we got a budget for speed. Let's do this. And we just say, great, let's do it. Other times it's a business owner that's really just trying to understand how to get more sales. And it's we don't always start with speed in those cases. And we might recommend, hey, I know you came to us for a speed question, but we have other ideas that we think are better value for the money. And so we'll do, that's how we approach it. And I encourage you as a marketing professional or as a business owner, like, approach it holistically if you can. And we all have these questions. I would love for you to comment. What's the one thing you've tried that didn't improve in performance that you thought would, or someone told you would? I'm really curious what people are trying and failing, or trying and succeeding in. And then like similarly, like what's your biggest frustration with this focus on speed over the last handful of years? And, how has this focus on speed affected your business or not? Would love to hear your thoughts, or any other thoughts around this stuff that you have. You can leave a comment. So again, let's just recap here. Focus on the high performance, high impact fixes. So speed, let's just talk about speed. Make sure that your infrastructure is sound, your DNS, your hosting, your PHP, and then you get to WordPress and WordPress stuff. So start at the top, work your way down. And by the way, those top level things, the DNS and hosting and PHP, those are the most straightforward wins you can get. Sometimes they cost more per month, but like the wins, sometimes the value is through the roof. I had a guy, this is a true story. We have a client was scoring 5 on Google page speed when we onboarded him. And we walked through and we looked at everything, and he had a WordPress site that was just packed with plugins, and like the theme was slow. Everything was slow about it. And we said, this site is loading slow. I loaded it. It was like watching my watch, and this is not even Google page speed. I'm like, took 20 seconds to load. This is not good for you. And they're a local service provider. So, for sure they were losing business. And so what we did instead, though, rather than re-platform the site, rather than like do all this expensive stuff that would have fixed the issue, but it would have been really expensive and, way beyond his budget. What we said is like, what if we just cranked up the juice on the server? So you have more, basically the server is now like a super server. And what we did is, it was really interesting. It went from a 20-second load time to about a 1-second load time. And the Google PageSpeed score stayed the same, but the real problem went away. And all he had to do was invest more in the hosting. That was it. And we also added the DNS level, but it was really the hosting juice that did it. And so just keep that in mind. That was a way cheaper solution, even over time. I mean, it's been consider that hosting increase. You're like, oh, I have to pay it every month, but like the cost to re-platform is going to be way more than that. And so part of me, like, and this is how we think about it holistically at the Mighty Mo, is like, we're like, it's actually going to be way cheaper. And by the way, I don't need a lump sum. I can just get 1 month's payment, and next month you pay me again. It's like just this like, and we didn't do a bunch of dev work. And so you're saving all this money. And that's just one example of like a holistic approach where you're just really looking at the infrastructure more so than your specific WordPress plugin mix and the files on the site. So lots of options. I love this stuff. If it's not obvious, I could talk about this all day. Would love to hear your thoughts, your ideas. I do this every other week here on LinkedIn, and I talk about different stuff. So just kind of more or less off the top of my head, but I do generally have a note, some notes. But if you are thinking through your site's performance, I'm happy to compare notes, happy to talk, happy to take a quick look at your Google page speed and see what's going on. Again, my name is Toby Crines. I run the Mighty Mo at themightymo.com. That's M-O. I'm in Minneapolis. Love WordPress, love doing this stuff. Would love to converse with you if you have an idea for a project. I've been doing a lot with AI, and like I've built a couple AI apps that are supporting our business now in really interesting ways. And so we're not selling AI, but if you want to talk about that sort of thing, totally open to that too. But again, we do WordPress, we do Shopify, we do SEO, and that's really it. We've done it for 19 years, and not all three at the same time because Shopify came along later, but definitely did WordPress and SEO for the last 19 years and counting. Hope you have a great rest of the week here. It's Tuesday. Reach out. You can DM me anytime. You can go to themightymo.com and fill out our contact form or check us out there. Let me know if you have ideas for a future session too. Would love to hear ideas you have if you're struggling with something and you would love some help or some ideas from somebody who's been doing this a long time. I'm happy to provide that too. So thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you when we see you.